feet away from the wall.
Car 21, driven by Jeff Brabham, and Dennis Firestone in car 75. Car number 68, driven by Michael Chandler, was on the inside of row 8. The third Whittington brother, Dale, is in car number 95. And another rookie, Jim Hickman, driving car number 42. Johnny Parsons in number 34 starts the 9th row. George Snyder in car 35 with Tony Bettenhausen in car 16. The 10th row, Jerry Sneva, Chet Phillip, and Gary Bettenhausen. And the final row, Tom Bigelow, Pete Halsmer, and Jose Legarza.
We'll be back with what should have been the start of the race after this.
Race highlights. A report of today's 1982 Indianapolis 500-mile race is brought to you by True Value Hardware, by IDC. For all your copying and printing needs, check with us, Indiana Duplicator. We're all over Indiana. And by Midas. Midas replaces more mufflers than anybody else.
When Dave's company transferred him to L.A., it was up to me to pack up the kids and head west. The last thing I needed was the muffler to go bad. But I went to Midas. They had just the muffler for our old Ford. They worked fast, and Midas treated me like a human being. Sure glad I went to Midas.
We're nothing but the best he's ever gonna do. Trust the Midas touch.
Give your home a fresh start this spring with quality True Test paint, now specially priced during National True Test Spring Paint Week at True Value Hardware stores. Their finest acrylic latex house paint now comes in 3 finishes. Choose Weatherall Flat for $11.98 a gallon, new satin finish Weatherall for $12.98 a gallon, or lustrous Weatherall Gloss Finish for $13.98 a gallon during National True Test Spring Paint Week, exclusively at participating True Value Hardware stores and home centers.
Your business machines say a lot about the way you do business. Quick. Right. Canon's NP400F delivers 40 letter-sized copies in a minute. Consider it done. Responds with reduction, even enlargement. Keeps you organized with a document feeder and optional sorter. Attaboy. The Canon NP400F system copier. Technology that keeps you going.
For sales and service, check with us, IDC, Indiana Duplicator. We're all over Indiana.
The 1982 race was apparently ready, but before the green could come down, watch the middle of row 1, Kevin Cogan out on Foyt, inside at Andretti, and there was an incident already before the green. Further back, Dale Whittington goes in on Roger Mears, and we have 4 cars out of the race before we even get to the green in the first place. Now let's watch this once again. Watch the middle of the first row and Kevin Cogan.
In slow motion, you can see Cogan slide to the right. He just kisses A.J. Foyt's car, then into Andretti. And later on in the back, Whittington with his crack up into Roger Mears. Controversy on both these accidents in that one, Cogan blamed for his lack of experience, although the Penske team says there was a problem with the car. We'll talk about that later in the telecast. Whittington should have been aware that there was some kind of a problem, and he has really been taken to task by a number of the drivers for not being aware that something was wrong and causing the crash up with Roger Mears.
A lot of people talking about the youngsters, but then it was Andretti and Foyt furious with the incidents that had taken place. AJ in his 25th year getting ready for a good season, so it seemed. Red flag was down. We had not gone anywhere. It was Cogan and Andretti having words with each other immediately. Everybody works their way back to the pits. They get a full tank of fuel to get ready for it.
I watched him. He was right in front of me. I watched the kid. He didn't even know you were there. He drifted right into you. Yeah. He had that car cocked already. He started in first gear. He started way too slow to begin with. But I still had him in second gear.
I was in second gear and rolling. All of a sudden, I just pow on the left.
All of a sudden, and I knew I dove for the inside. I said, because this kid's going to lock wheel.
What did he do? Just turn side and just run into him. That's what it felt like. I couldn't see him.
He locked me right at the wall like that.
That was AJ and Mario. What did Roger Mears have to say of Dale Whittington?
Dale Whittington come from the next row back. There was supposed to be 100 intervals back. Come from behind, and next thing I know, he's right on top of my car. You know, he just come through like the green had dropped and there wasn't anybody else on the track. I can't even believe it, you know. And like I said before, the only excuse that he can give me that would make me feel any better at all is that his throttle stuck and he couldn't get it up.
We won't hear the end of it for a few days. There's A.J. Foyt's car. It was repairable. Maybe that's why we saw the smile on his face. You can see it on the outside of the front row. Whittled now to 2 cars, as was the second row. The reason Mario Andretti he's so upset, he's out of it. That's Gordon Johncock on the inside of the second row and Bill Whittington on the outside. They take the green. 1982 is finally underway. 29 cars in the field, 4 already gone. It was A.J. Foyt streaking out there on the first turn and taking an early pace that was really blistering. A.J. Foyt, 4-time winner, looking like he was ready for number 5 here for 1982. And, of course, the rest behind, the Mears, Rick Mears, everybody talking about his car. But A.J., again, still out in front most of this time. Jose Garza blew an engine's second lap.
He was handling very well and everything was going well, and then all of a sudden the engine just quit. It just ceased. So there was no warning or anything.
Where were you? Just beyond the first lap?
Well, yeah, just, you know, I finished the first lap and I was going into turn 1, and then it just ceased.
Following the pace lap pileup, Jose Garza's car was the first of 11 cars that went out in the first 65 laps, the rate of attrition great. Meanwhile, A.J. Foyt still hanging on to a lead, but it was really close.
First 3 cars, Mears, Johncock, and Foyt were pulling away. As you see, Mears doing the pass of Foyt on 35th lap and pulled away. 8 cars on the lead lap at that time, but then along came our yellow flag. The first of the day happened to Tony Bettenhausen, hit the wall, turned 4, 40 laps into it. Then after the yellow, it was Tom Sneva once again. Tony was okay here. Tom Sneva seemed to pick it up, and he went for the lead in a burst that was followed by Johncock, Mears, A.J., and Pancho Carter. Only 12 seconds separated the first 5 cars near this point. Now, Foyt had been moving at a record speed for the first 40 laps, leading to yellow from Tony Bettenhausen incident. Tom Carnegie has a close look at the most recognized man in racing, A.J., in his 25th Indy 500.
In his 4th race at Indianapolis in 1961, A.J. Foyt started 7th and finished 1st. In that span of just 4 years, I learned that Foyt had mental toughness, determination, and abhorrence of anything but first place, and owned a mechanical skill, self-taught, that could earn him a Ph.D. in race car engineering. His 4th and final victory came in 1977. This tough Texan, who really has a heart as big as his native state, leads in miles of competition at Indianapolis, over 9,000. The only 4-time winner, along with Rex Mays, the only 4-time pole winners. He's led Indianapolis on 12 occasions, and of course, the only driver ever to compete in 25 straight events. A man with incredible skill in any type of race car, he owns another trait that makes him special to me: loyalty. Yes, loyalty to his family, close friends, employees, and to racing itself. Surviving at least a half a dozen major accidents along the way, I still look for Foyt to keep racing, at least at Indianapolis, for several years. Foyt, retire? Never. After all, Foyt wants his 5th victory, desperately, then his 6th, fiercely, then his, well, you get the idea.
Foyt into the pits here for refuel. He gets some on his body and also on the car. The new valves had problems because Johncock and Tom Sneva also had problems with it. Here you see Danny Ongaya spinning in turn 2, and the 63rd lap also taken out on this, Jerry Sneva and Chet Phillip.
As I mentioned earlier, Chris, the high rate of attrition as 3 fall out of the race at that point. Here's A.J. back in the pits, and he had his troubles.
He had some comments about him, too. Frustration, gets out on the car and tries to work on it himself.
Actually, something inside the gearbox on the shifting levers. They got about 3 set pins, and with the temperatures today and things like that, I guess one of them slipped because it let the shifting fork slip, and we couldn't get it back out of 3rd gear when I left the pits.
Do you think the accident before the actual start of the race had an effect on that?
No, it had no effect on the gearbox. The biggest thing it did, it had the front end, we lined it up, but we still towed out a little bit, and that's the reason I had to back off when Rick run me down for the lead. We was pushing the front end very bad.
You must feel very lucky.
Well, I'm just lucky we got a race car left, because that should have never happened what happened.
Back with the midpoint standings in the second half of the race after this.
Nothing nails tall weeds like Roundup herbicide through a pipe wick. And now you can get a coupon for a free gallon of Roundup when you order a pipe wick kit for only $79.95. You can assemble your pipe wick kit in only a few hours. It's a $210 value. You save $130. See your dealer or call 800-453-4000 for your pipe wick kit and a coupon for a free gallon of Roundup. That's 800-453-4000.
Business. To be in the picture, you gotta be good.
Good and fast, like Canon's NP300F. 30 letter-size copies a minute.
You gotta give and take.
Canon's 300F gives you reduction and document feeding. Even sorts it all out with optional sorter.
In today's leaner, trimmer business picture,
You need the good stuff.
and nothing but the Canon NP300F.
For sales and service, check with us, IDC, Indiana Duplicator. We're all over Indiana.
You're looking at the two best reasons I take good care of my brakes. They're why I go to Midas on a regular basis. Midas inspects brakes the right way. They pull the wheel. If anything needs doing, I know it gets done right. Some people say I'm overly cautious, but I don't think so. I just feel better going to Midas.
Where nothing but the best is ever gonna do. Trust the Midas touch.
The leaders at the halfway point after 100 laps, which was under yellow, were John Cock, Mears, Tom Sneva, Pancho Carter, those four on the same lap, followed by rookie Hector Rabaki, along with Johnny Rutherford, Al Unser, Bobby Rahal, Danny Sullivan, and Bill Whittington. There was a good duel shaping up between Gordon, John Cock, and Rick Mears. John Cock had moved from third to first between laps 90 and 100. But Mears was back at it a little bit later on. Watch this pass. Oh, that is close on turn one. Also Sneva right there, along with Pancho Carter making it work. But the good battle, Mears and John Cock shaping up. 1.5 seconds separating the first four cars early in the second half of the race.
Chris, this was an opportunity for the fans to get an idea what kind of racing was in store through the rest of the afternoon.
Johnny Parsons is out. He has some problems with a car. He'd been having problems actually throughout the month with it. Two other drivers decided not to even take this ride into qualifications. But that gave a chance for Tom Sneva to shoot in front of Mears for the lead after the yellow. Good battle shaping up then between Sneva and Mears, taking over for John Cock, who had been dropping back at this point. But then Danny Sullivan hit the turn 4 wall, and the yellow had all the leaders come into the pits and a chance to bunch up once again. The time was also important. Mears came in at 11 seconds. Sneva couldn't get fuel valve to work, took 54 seconds this time.
And this is where Sneva lost his opportunity for the win, and George Bignati, the crew chief, the opportunity for his 7th win.
And you see the leaders after 150 laps at this point. Mears took lead in the pits here on the 155th lap, but at 159, it was John Cock once again after we went to the green, had moved back from the battle from the 4th spot and took the lead at this point on lap 160 by the time they came around at the start-finish line. The first three cars were only 1.2 seconds apart, but as time went on, Gordy and Mears were pulling away for a battle on their very own plane. Track was clearing. Only 8 cars were around and running at the finish of this one. Battle continued, and the pits would tell the story. Mears came in on lap 183, but he made contact with a car in front of him.
I was coming into the pits, and I got behind a slower car that was out in the middle of the pit lane. When you come in, when you're getting close to your pit, you're supposed to run a slow lane and let the fast, let somebody that's running it, pitting at the other end, run the fast lane.
Who was in front of you?
And I believe it was Herm Johnson.
Did you bump him?
I hit him. Yes, I did hit him. He was still in the middle of the straddling the line. He wasn't in either lane, the fast lane or slow lane. I couldn't run around him without getting onto the curb, so I just had to sit and wait. And then finally he found his pit and stopped before he ever turned in. And I actually hit him and lifted him off the ground. And luckily it didn't bend a wing or something.
Well, it cost us from running within a couple of seconds of him, we were back to about 10 seconds. So it cost us 10 seconds between that situation and the keeping him in the pits too long.
So Mears' pit took 19.4 seconds. 3 laps later, John Cock came in, did it in 14 seconds flat. That's 5.5 seconds difference. So when they left the pits, John Cock had an 11.5 second lead with 13 laps left, and Mears just further back at that point.
However, there you see Rick Mears in car number 1, and that car can get up and go, and he did in the final laps of the race. With 8 laps remaining, the difference was just 8.5 seconds. And then, as it got down to 3 laps remaining in the race, the difference was just 1.8 seconds, and you can see the fans are really going wild as they can anticipate a great finish to this race.
Into the traffic here, but they move so quickly around those slower cars. Tom Sneva has his problems here, so it's truly a 2-car battle now between John Cock and Mears. We'll be back with the final 2 laps after this.
Your business machines say a lot about the way you do business. Quick. Right. Canon's NP400F delivers 40 letter-sized copies in a minute. Consider it done. Responds with reduction, even enlargement. Keeps you organized with a document feeder and optional sorter. Attaboy. The Canon NP400F system copier. Technology that keeps you going.
For sales and service, check with us, IDC, Indiana Duplicator. We're all over Indiana.
When Dave's company transferred him to L.A., it was up to me to pack up the kids and head west. The last thing I needed was the muffler to go bad. But I went to Midas. They had just the muffler for our old Ford. They worked fast, and Midas treated me like a human being. Sure glad I went to Midas.
We're nothing but the best he's ever gonna do. Trust the Midas touch.
Give your home a fresh start this spring with quality True Test paint, now specially priced during National True Test Spring Paint Week at True Value Hardware stores. Their finest acrylic latex house paint now comes in 3 finishes. Choose Weatherall Flat for $11.98 a gallon, new satin finish Weatherall for $12.98 a gallon, or lustrous Weatherall Gloss Finish for $13.98 a gallon during National True Test Spring Paint Week, exclusively at participating True Value Hardware stores and home centers.
Race Highlights was brought to you by True Value Hardware, by IDC. For all your copying and printing needs, check with us, Indiana Duplicator. We're all over Indiana. And by Midas. Midas replaces more mufflers than anybody else.
Okay, let's enjoy these final 2 laps. Gordon John Cock followed by Rick Mears, much less than a second separating the 2.
In order to catch up, Rick Mears was running laps of 197 and 198 miles an hour. To stay close with Gordon John Cock, those are qualifying laps when the track is empty, much less running during the race.
Rick Mears obviously had the faster car on the track, so it got down to the talent of driving. How would Gordy keep Rick behind? Now that's close. Here we are at the start-finish line on the white flag. Mears looks like he's going to take it. Watch this piece of driving by Gordy on turn 1.
Absolutely incredible how he squeezed him out of that pass.
There's the second turn. They're going down the back stretch. Through 3, around to 4. This is the chute to the finish after the 4th turn. The closest race in history, won by Gordon John Cock and the crew, extremely happy, obviously. 1600ths of a second divided first and second place. Gordon John Cock and Rick Mears. Gordon John Cock, a winner in 1973, now a 2-time winner.
You have the opportunity to see some of the celebration, some of the tradition, the ride into victory lane as Gordon John Cock enjoys his victory.
Average speed of the winner, 162.026 miles per hour, less than 1 mile per hour slower than the fastest ever. Tom Carnegie had a chance to talk with the winner.
When he pulled up beside me for the white flag lap, I thought, well, this is all he rode. He caught me, and he's going to get by me. But I think I had just a little more horsepower than Rick did and was able to continue on. When he got out there and breaking his own clean air, that's where my stronger engine come in, you know, and I was able to ease on ahead of him before we got into the number 1 corner, and he disappeared out of my sight on the left. So I knew that I had him through that corner anyway for that moment.
When you got to the start-finish line for the checkered flag, did you know really where he was?
No, I didn't, Tom. I looked in my mirror after I got out of the number 4 corner and got straightened up. I looked in my mirror to see where he was at, and I couldn't see him, so I didn't know. I didn't know if he was right straight behind me or if he was beside of me or where he was at. But I can't see out of my mirrors when somebody is right straight behind me.
This is a race that'll go down in history, and that's what you deserve. That's all I can say. 16/100ths of a second you won by. A race history will always remember.
Well, I think one reason I feel so good about it, Tom, too, is because there's been several times that I've been so close here, you know, like in 77, we lacked 16 laps and had a 13-second lead on AJ, and I don't think there's too much question about what we would have won the race. Last year we had 6 laps to go and we broke down. This race we earned, you know, myself and the whole team, just not me, it's my team that put the car together that makes this all possible, and I think we really earned this race. It wasn't given to us.
Fortunately, the great racing and incredible finish overshadows the horrendous false start on the final pace lap. Kevin Cogan, a fine driver, will be remembered in the foreseeable future anyway as the middleman in a wreck that wiped 4 cars out of the race before the green flag even dropped. The Penske team explanation.
At the time, I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know if it was he that caused the accident or if it was a mechanical failure or what it was at that time. Now, seeing that the piece that we saw that was broken on the right-hand side, which would cause that accident, and also knowing from the tapes that he did not touch me before that happened, it was not his fault. It was something that let go on the right-hand side of the car and jerked the car to the right.
Andretti and Foyt, both irate, both saying Cogan wasn't ready for the front row. And it's hard to imagine that a car that ran beautifully at 200 miles an hour suffered damage on the pace lap. However, the championship race car is a delicate instrument, and Cogan, though inexperienced here at Indy, has proven himself to be a good driver. This accident will be the lone black mark against the 1982 Indy 500, what proved to be a great race.
So the unofficial standings this year, and there are no protests filed at this time. In the first position, Gordon Johncock, followed by Rick Mears, Pancho Carter, Tom Sneva, Al Unser, Don Whittington. Fastest rookie is Jim Hickman in 7th. Johnny Rutherford next, followed by Herm Johnson, a rookie. Howdy Holmes, Bobby Rahal, also a rookie. Gary Bettenhausen next, then 3 rookies, Hector Rabacki, Danny Sullivan, and Chip Ganassi. In 16th, it's Bill Whittington, followed by Michael Chandler, Tom Bigelow, A.J. Foyt, Johnny Parsons, George Snyder, Danny Ongaius, Jerry Sneva, Chet Phillip, a rookie. Pete Halsmer is next. Tony Bettenhausen, Dennis Firestone, Jeff Brabham, Jose Legarza. And then officially, Kevin Cogan, Mario Andretti, Roger Mears, and Dale Whittington. So that does it. For Ken Double, this is Chris Allen saying, boy, this was a great one.